This video and many more are made possible by viewers like you. If you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, and supporting via ko-fi.com/BrandonTate77.
Hey everyone, it's Brandon, and I'm here at the National Western Complex, just a little north of downtown Denver, Colorado. It's a beautiful day out here, but I am not a weatherman. I'm not here to report on the weather. Instead, I'm here to cover the 2025 Colorado Guitar Show and Luthier Expo. I did this last year and I had a lot of fun, and I'm really excited that it's at this particular venue. In particular, in this video, we're going to be looking at some vendors that reached out to me in advance of this video, said, hey, I'd love to come appear on video. Some of them might be repeats from last year, so we'll go check that out. And then also just taking a look at any particular oddities or other cool creations that people have brought in for this particular show. So let's head inside, we'll get our ticket at the door, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with this video today. All right, everybody, I figured we'd start this video off with the same vendor that I first talked to in last year's video. I have with me
Jeff Baker with Hayley Guitars.
And you're out of Peyton, is that right, if I remember correctly?
That's right, Peyton, Colorado.
Gotcha. Well, Jeff, it's been a year's time since we last talked. How you been? What's been new with Hayley? Any new cool YouTube projects you've been working on?
Yeah, if you follow the channel, we've always got all kinds of stuff going on, but Hayley Guitars, everything's been going really well. Been trying to keep everything moving forward. Got a new bass guitar out that I built on the channel last year. So it's a subtonic. You want to take a look at that?
Good deal, yeah.
But yeah, everything's been going really good.
Is that what's back there on that rack, or on that,
yep.
You want to bring that up? Let's bring that up. Cool, any little fun construction bits with this one?
Yeah, this is it's a brand new model. Like, I'm really happy with this. Spent quite a bit of time trying to get the body style, kind of the way I want. One cool thing about this one in particular is the body is made out of Siberian elm, which actually came from my front yard. So the tree died several years ago. It got taken down, slabbed it up with my chainsaw mill, let it all dry out, and now it lives on in the form of the subtonic bass.
Gotcha. Define subtonic. What are you going for there?
The very first model of guitar that I built is called the tonic, right? You're familiar with all the musical the modes and all that. So the tonic was my first model. The Dorian is my second model, which is this one. And this is my first model of the bass. So I kind of wanted to go off that same tonic kind of name. But it's a bass, right? So it's the subtonic.
Gotcha. So you got some Seymour Duncans in there. What pickups are those?
These are literally called their soap bar pickups.
Oh, yeah.
They're active pickups. They sound really good. We don't have to worry about a battery or anything.
That's always nice.
Yeah, that's kind of my preference anyway. But we got volume, tone, Goto bridge. We got Goto tuners with a hip shot string tree here. And it's just fun to play. It's a 32-inch scale length too.
Also medium,
so a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
It has really good balance, right? It doesn't want to dive because the neck is a mile out, which just kind of stuff that I like.
You said your second model there. How about we bring that one up too?
Yeah.
Cool. You said this is the Dorian, right? Any particular cool construction bits with this one?
Yep. This is the Dorian. This one I built like a couple years ago for the Great Guitar Build-Off. I don't know if you've heard about that. Yeah, we got a mahogany body, quilted maple top, and then it's like one of my favorite stains. The color is just something that I really like on this one. I just really like that. Maple neck, rosewood fretboard, 25.5-inch scale, and yeah.
I don't think we talked too much about last year. What's kind of like your construction process, or what influences your design philosophy rather?
Like when I come up with a shape or something like that?
Or just in general, anything.
In general? It's kind of a tough one to answer, I guess. I don't really know exactly how to go about that because everybody approaches that kind of thing a little different. You just kind of know some designs that I like, right? And try to translate that into the guitar. I don't really know how to elaborate on that answer, to be honest with you.
Do you have any like guiding principles or influences you pull from?
I mean, there's models that are on the market now that I like, and I know like there's certain shapes and certain aspects of that, and I do kind of use that as a little bit of inspiration when coming up with mine. But you know, ultimately, you want to keep everything. You know, I'm not going to copy someone's design, but I do pull inspiration from everybody here. I find little parts of their builds that inspire me to try different things.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year, if you're here, we'll look forward to speaking
Right on.
again.
Thanks a lot.
I think I'll take a little demo on one of these guitars if you don't. That's
Yeah,
all
have
right.
at it.
Oh, do you need me to come down? Apologies. What's that? All right, everyone. The next vendor that reached out to me in advance of this year's show and wanted to appear on video to do an interview, I have with me
John Nortrup, CopperTree Guitars.
Gotcha. And John, where is CopperTree based out of?
We're at a Longmont here in Colorado.
Gotcha. And I see your wife was kind of filling me in before we got started here. You've got some very beautiful acoustic pieces here. Is there anything in particular that you specialize with building acoustic guitars or anything of the like?
I think what we try and do is we try and find woods that have some character. We like woods that have, interesting or dramatic wood grains to them. And so the combination of OMs and dreadnoughts.
Gotcha.
And this year we're just starting a new thin line of dreadnoughts.
Your wife was also filling me in. You got a particular acoustic right here. Do you mind if we bring this up?
No, let's do that.
Yeah. I heard there's some very unique things going on with this particular piece. What do you got going on here?
Yeah, so this is a beautiful Hawaiian koa guitar. The unique thing about koa is you're not allowed to cut it down. So people, when they harvest them, basically have to grab them from the ground. So the beauty of this, as pretty as it is on the top, the back is called.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's a spalted wood. Spalted means it was sitting on the ground. It has some moisture come into it when it's a log, and it gets some fungus in it. And the fungus leaves its own natural shape to the guitar. So nature did this thing. I just put it together.
And I know your wife just told me to skip my mind. Where's this particular wood come from?
This Hawaiian koa.
Gotcha.
So-
So is it so it's just like a regulation thing? You can't like actually go and chop
The
it?
only place you get
Gotta
is
wait for it
Hawaii.
to, yeah.
Like other things in the world, things that got over harvest when they started taking them down.
of
So had to wait for them to fall down. I think there are guitar companies harvest, making their own groves and harvesting, but generally, if you want to get a log, it has to be on the ground.
Gotcha.
And again, a good example of that dramatic grain that we really like to get in our guitars.
Do you have any particular like design philosophies that influence your work? Anything that you like to incorporate that makes your guitars what they are?
Yeah, we work really hard to get the, certainly like most luthiers, trying to get the top just right. I work pretty hard to try and get a nice long sustain out of something, so when somebody's had it, strums at that, I want that guitar to ring very nicely. And I think the other unique thing we do, when we're doing our finish, it's an all-natural finish. So as I said, we like guitars that have interesting, unique wood, nice grain patterns, but the other thing we do is our finish, where it's an all-natural linseed oil and pine resin varnish. It's hand rubbed on, it's hand buffed, and we get this nice satin look to it. But we also don't do any grain filling. We believe that guitars are made of wood. When it's all done, it should look like wood. So this guitar has smaller grains, but if you look at some of the other ones, the walnut I have behind me, we just let the grain come right through, and we just think it's a natural, nice characteristic of a nice piece of wood.
How long have you been creating your guitars?
Yep. So we started just before I retired in 2017. So I've been making ever since then, and we make guitars. It takes me about 3 months to make a guitar.
Is there anything in particular, otherwise, you'd like to share what makes CopperTree guitars CopperTree guitars?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I think we're trying to strive for and be unique is that we like to try and sell them at what would be considered an affordable price for a guitar made by a luthier, handmade to your requirements. So we want to be that guitar you have in the rack that you want to play every day, that is not keeping in the case if you're afraid of hurting it. So we try and price the guitars that you're willing to do that.
Gotcha. John, thank you so much for your time and reaching out in advance. If you don't mind, we'll shoot some additional footage of your other pieces, if that's all right.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
So I heard.
The exception of the unique thing here is this is the same body depth as that,
Yeah,
whereas the other one is a full dread.
good deal. The next vendor, or part of two vendors that I wanted to bring up next here, one of my personal favorite music stores that I usually go to here in the Denver area, that is Music Around, and I have with me here...
My name is Brian.
And you manage the Aurora side of Music Around here in the area, is that correct?
Yeah, there's two stores in the Denver area, one in Littleton. I own the Aurora store.
Gotcha. What always has excited me about doing Music Around is you guys often get some really unique pieces that come through.
It's a different store every day,
Yeah,
so we enjoy that.
Yeah, and that's personally what I've loved about it. I can't tell you the number of interesting things that I've picked up, primarily because the Aurora store is closer to me, so I've seen you guys quite a bit more frequently. Let's see here. Do you have any particular unique pieces with us today? Anything you'd like to bring up on camera?
Since this is a guitar show, but also custom Luthier Expo, I tried to bring in some kind of like some of the more handmade stuff that we have. I'm standing in front of it, but this is a guitar made by Edward Dick at Victor Guitars on South Broadway.
Do you want to bring it up? Let's bring that up here.
So yeah, Edward Dick guitar made by Victor Guitars on South Broadway. I don't think that Ed builds much these days. He's doing classes and making banjolas, but my understanding is he's actually not making guitars very much anymore. So this is kind of a unique piece there. It's one of the loudest acoustic guitars I've ever played. It's like as a mechanical device to produce sound, it's just outclasses a lot of other things.
Good deal.
And then I have this is a Mossman guitar made in Kansas, Whitfield, Kansas. There's a longer story, but it was sold to a guy who lived in Denver and had a guitar shop, repair shop in Denver for a while as well. So old school Denver people have
Gotcha.
those who know kind of know that. Oh yeah.
Do you mind if I bring this?
Please, yeah. That one's getting a lot of attention.
Obviously, I can see why.
Yeah, this was made for the Japan market. It's a signature model for a band called Silent Siren.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, it was not available for sale new in the U.S.
Wow. How'd you guys get a hold of this one?
I walked in the door, just like stuff does.
No, that's
so. Yeah, I brought that to attract some attention, and it has been succeeding.
Oh yeah, definitely a looker for sure.
Yeah.
And locking tuners on the back, that makes me happy.
Yeah. And that
Cool.
painted fingerboard, just such an unconventional thing, or unusual anyway.
Yeah. Given that Music Around has the nature of, again, all the miscellaneous, all sorts of very unique stuff that comes through on a regular basis, what kind of has influenced that? I know you guys operate on a franchisee system, is that correct?
Yes.
And I guess just in general then, what is kind of the joy of being that music gear seller or reseller and seeing all these unique pieces come through?
Seeing all the unique pieces come through. Like I said, it's a different store every day. So just all the fun, cool stuff. We probably have roughly maybe the same number of guitars as a big box store, but it's going to be a wider variety because we have all of this kind of thing and weirdo stuff made in Sweden or 70s and 80s made in Japan stuff. It's more interesting, so it's a fun place to kind of nerd out.
Can you recall, perhaps, maybe even if it's not here today, obviously, but what's been one of the most crazy, unique things you've maybe seen come through?
Oh, this is a bunch of years ago when I worked at the Littleton store. Actually, we had maybe a 14 or 15-year-old come in with a 1950s Gibson arch top that he got at a garage sale. Like the stuff of legend, the stories that we never hear anymore.
Wow, okay.
And he traded it for a 2x12 combo amp and a Joe Satriani Ibanez model, because he didn't want to play that guitar, but he knew it was worth something. So he came and sold it to us, and we sent him home with something he could rock with. And it was like, I don't know, it's like, you might want to hang on to this because this is,
Yeah, that's history right there.
you're not going to see this again. But that was cool just to have that garage sale find.
Good deal. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Brandon. You bet. Always a pleasure.
We're going to take a little bump over to the left here, or my left, that is. And we're going to take a look at the other angle. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. Thank you.
You bet.
So as I mentioned, everybody, there are 2 iterations of Music Go Round that are here at the show today. Again, we just talked to Brian, who manages the Aurora store, and I now have with me
Dan.
And you're at the Littleton store, is that correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. You've got a kind of variety of things going on here today, Dan. What are some of the notable standouts that you've got here at this, or at least as far as it goes today?
I just kind of try to take a snapshot of some of the stuff that we get in as music arounds. It's kind of a plethora of everything you can imagine, but some of the things we brought today were some more sort of unique items. Behind you, we have the really cool 1978 Fender P-Bass in Mocha Brown.
Do you mind if I bring that up here?
Go ahead. It has the A-style neck, which is 1.5 inch at the nut. It's kind of desirable, not very common, so it's a really cool piece. It's also in really, really excellent shape for a 78.
Oh wow!
So
Yeah.
it's really, really fun.
I always get like, I don't know. It's always surreal to me holding instruments that are older than I am.
Right,
so.
absolutely. And it's even better when they're in that clean a shape from that year. So then we've got a Reverend baritone. You see a lot of baritones come in with that extra long scale length to play in the B standard.
Do you know what the scale on this one is?
I actually don't know what the exact scale off the top of my head is. I think it's 26, maybe.
Somewhere around there.
We got the Kiesel Custom.
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
Kiesel is sort of the grandchild of Carbon. Carbon no longer exists.
Right, yeah.
But Kiesel sort of took over that market where you can kind of custom build your guitar.
Do you mind if I bring this one up too? Because this is just...
Yeah.
I usually don't go for the oblong shapes, but
so
it's always kind of interesting to hold. Oh my goodness.
The burled poplar top, really nice bird's eye maple neck, walnut body with the 5-piece cherry center. Really nice, cool piece.
This has got to be like the lightest guitar I've ever held. I think, in all honesty.
One of the benefits to the headless style is just the balance of the guitar is different. Really small. It's really light. So if you gig a lot, it can actually be really nice.
And then for all the true gentlemen out there, you can get your headless. Is this? I'm thinking this is still standard scale by eyeballing it. Is that
it
right?
is still a standard scale length. This particular one is a 7-string.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I see that.
Yep. And then we just have a Hagstrom 12-string guitar, 12-string electric. Not particularly vintage or anything, but again, just something that's a little less common being 12-string electrics. So the final guitar we have is a unlabeled Harvest guitar, which was actually a local company up until a few years ago. They discontinued everything, and this is sort of a B stock without a logo on it. But it's really cool. It's all solid wood with electronics and a really, really good price point. So.
Gotcha. Well, Brian was kind of describing to me with Music Around, it's kind of the same or different store every day with just the amount of the really unique stuff that you guys have come through.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't get to visit Littleton too much just because you guys are just a little too far from me, unfortunately, but I have stopped by. Still, you guys run a fantastic store as well. What has kind of been your greatest joy in working at Music Around with seeing all these some of these really unique things come through?
I think that's kind of part of it is just getting to see the weird, different stuff that tends to pop up. We've had everything from old ARP synth units that used to make R2-D2 sounds, old Juno synthesizers to electronic marimbas. We just kind of see the gamut of everything. So it's always fun when something you've never had a chance to try comes in and you kind of get to play with it a little bit and see why everybody loves it. So
I asked this to Brian as well. What's kind of been the most crazy, unique thing you've seen come through in your case at the Littleton store?
Crazy thing? I don't even remember, to be honest. Probably something like the ARP, which is like $15,000 vintage synth unit. So
gotcha.
We did just sell sell a 59 P bass for $10,000.
Oh wow, wow!
Yeah.
The real old school.
Pretty good.
That's like within the. Is that like in the first generation of P basses, or somewhere down the maybe down the line?
It's definitely within the first few iterations.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Dan, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time on this.
Sure thing.
You got some wonderful pieces here.
Thank you.
But again, if you have any interest in weird and wacky gear, and hopefully, or maybe if you live in a big enough city, definitely go check out. If you have a music around in your area, has been one of my favorite stores that I've gone to in just in my area for all sorts of really unique things. So thank you again, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Everybody, this next vendor is another vendor who reached out to me in advance of the show. I am here with
Lance with Rebirth Guitar Company.
And where are you based out of in Colorado, Lance?
I'm here in Denver, Colorado.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you didn't have you didn't have a long drive to get here
I did
today.
not. No, huh? No, it's pretty easy.
Cool. Well, tell me a little bit about Rebirth Guitars. What do you kind of specialize in? What sort of stuff do you kind of go for? What do you build?
So I am a custom shop luthier. I only build hand quality or handcrafted guitars. I started building guitars about 9 years ago. I used to be a former touring musician, so I used to tour all over the world playing guitar. Once I stopped doing that, I started building them, and like I said, I've been building them for about 9 years now. I generally tend to use reclaimed wood, but they're not all reclaimed wood. The Rebirth Guitar Company name kind of came from my rebirth of my creativity. Since I was no longer a songwriter or any of that stuff, now I just build guitars all day. So,
No, it's cool. Is there anything in particular that kind of influences your design philosophy with what you go after?
I wanted something to look different, but I don't want it to be so different that it hurts your eyes. So I really like the uniqueness of wood. So I'm always trying to tell me what the wood is looking for. So yeah, it's a bit of a aesthetic choice and design choice, and whatever my creativity is feeling at the moment is kind of how I do them. So
Are there any of the three you've got here, or anything else you've got on your table? Anything we want to bring up? We could show on camera here.
Well, sure. Let's start with this one right here. This is the Apache model. This is a kind of like a super modern guitar. This one comes complete with a hip shot hardware and Fralin pickups. So these are the noiseless split coils that he does. They're really, really fantastic. This one also features a really, really nice smooth heel, deluxe scarf joint in there with a volute as well. So you got a really, really nice stable neck that's fairly thin and built for speed.
Oh yeah.
So this whole guitar here weighs about 7 pounds. So it's very comfortable to play, very balanced, and looks cool as shit.
Let's pull up this Telly. I'm a big Telly guy, so I gotta love Telly, or I love Telly everything.
So this is my model called the Telluride. So I name all of my guitars after Colorado towns.
Oh, cool.
So I have the Larkspur, my Telecaster version is the Telluride. I have one called the Severance, which is like my Stratocaster version. So they're all named after Colorado towns. This one features a really cool burl maple top. This one has a copper resin fill with it. If I turn it around, this one comes with a nice ribbon mahogany body and a nice figured sapelli neck on it. 24 frets, and then the pickups in here are custom-made pickups by a brand called Righteous Sound Pickups, and they're made in Texas, and they are incredible pickups. Highly recommend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have to ask, since you're doing the naming convention of Colorado town cities and the like, do you have a model? Have you built a model yet called the Fountain model?
No, but it's in the works,
Okay.
actually.
I grew up in Fountain, so.
Did you really?
Yeah, I grew up in Fountain.
That's awesome.
So that's why you mentioned that. I was like, oh, does he have the Fountain model?
Oh no, but I definitely need to make one for sure. I have a few in the works right now that are kind of like new designs that are going to be available for like the 2026 year. So one of those might just have to get that name.
I got to get first dibs on getting a look at that.
You got to have that one.
That's my city, man.
So this one right here is a bit of a take on a PRS.
Yeah.
So some of the cooler features on this one is my cool carved up headstock here. As you can see, it's got some really cool, nice relief carves to it. All of the inlays are done in a color changing film, so they completely change colors.
Oh yeah, look at that. When we do our B-roll, I'll try to get that on camera.
And then this part is all a metallic film called dichlorolam, and it's basically like a holographic film. So yeah. So some other cool features on this guitar. Once again, we got Hipshot hardware. We have a set of Guitar Marie pickups that were custom made by Seymour Duncan, so they sound incredible. Also, all my guitars come complete with an S-Pro system, which includes a 10-way switch.
Oh wow. We'll get that on the B-roll. I don't think I've ever seen. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
This is a new system designed by one of the engineers that designed the GPS satellites. So it's all made out of satellite components.
Oh wow.
And military grade components. It does everything that all of your like push pulls and all of your little switches and stuff used to do. Now it's all done just on a simple 10-way switch. So all of my guitars come standard with that.
Gotcha. That just seeing that 10-way blows my mind. I've never seen anything like with a 10-way switch. That's wild.
Let me just grab one real quick. Here's the system itself. This thing comes with a micro switch in there, so you can use this on any pickup configuration.
Wow.
Humbuckers, 3 singles, HSS, doesn't really matter. All of these little capacitors here are all GPS capacitors. So they can be rated, they can get next to the sun, they can stand absolute 0 temperatures. They're also completely EMF and RF free.
Wow.
So you don't get any of that radio signal that you used to get. All done on a custom switch.
Gotcha.
Yep, so those are the new S-Pro systems that I use in every single one of my builds.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With that, just with the sheer amount of components that you go in there, how long does it usually take you at building your instruments?
I have currently an 18-month waiting list for builds. The average build takes me about 4 months, but I have so many orders, and I'm just one person, and I do everything by hand. I don't do any CNC work or anything. It makes it a long process and pretty time-consuming. So right now, like I said, I'm currently at an 18-month window for completing builds.
Well, Lance, thank you so much for reaching out, and it was a pleasure. I think this is, from a technical standpoint, I'm just trying to wrap my mind, especially around that 10-way switch. Lance, thank you so much for reaching out, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. So this one, once again, has the 10-way switch, master volume, master tone, but now we have a blender pot for 12 tones. So you get 12 tones out of 3 single coil pickups. It's revolutionary. It's never been done before. All this done on an anodized black pickguard. And then once again, you can see the switch. Pops up right there.
All right, everybody, I'm getting nice and cozy with the next interview here, and I have with me...
I'm Steven. Andrew.
And you guys are representing...
We are Praxis Guitars.
And where are you guys based out of here in Colorado?
We're here in Denver.
Why I came over to you guys, I think, have the most radical and unique designs that I think I've seen today, especially in terms of body shape. Can you describe what you guys do with Praxis and kind of what's your design philosophy?
Well, I'll start with this one. Can you hand me that guy?
If it's okay if I do that?
Yeah, go for it. So both of these instruments are created from an algorithm that you input the number of strings, the scale length of the strings, and it creates an instrument for you.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a way that every instrument is custom tailored to whatever you want. And so we have an algorithm that creates these things, and then this thing over here.
Yeah, this is our experimental platform. This is called the Kimura Gumo.
Wow.
So it contains a number of capacitive touch, digital MIDI sensors, proximity sensors, and the 9 degrees of freedom sensor. So you can move the guitar, and it's all programmable based on the player's specifications.
Wow.
Yeah. So for instance, this can act as a sort of a theremin type instrument.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Each MIDI note can turn an effect on or off. We have a joystick here. We have a digital display that can display whatever you want. And it can detect like where the guitar is in space. So like if you turn the guitar away from the stage, for instance, it can trigger effects like infinite reverb if you turn your back on it.
And also, you can shake it, and it will recognize the acceleration and spinning, so you can just like.
So this guitar is kind of our experimental platform for developing different innovative concepts in terms of MIDI and what a guitar can do. And we've currently ripped the brain out of this and are using it to experiment on an acoustic instrument.
Oh, wow.
We're calling it the tentatively the Acousticumo. So with that one,
it doesn't want to move very.
It doesn't want to move. So this one has some copper sensors on it that can trigger different MIDI events, and it also has a transducer on it as well as a piezo pickup. So the idea is that the piezo pickup will feed into the transducer and create infinite sustain on an acoustic instrument, as well as project percussion or any other instrument that would interact with your playing in real time.
Your guitar is also your drum machine.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And meets a looper, meets a pitch shifter, meets
infinite sustain.
Infinite sustain, a MIDI instrument.
All those things going at once. It's fun.
Yes.
That's pretty mind-blowing on its own, right? All that on its own. How did you come to find being able to craft these really unique features, along with the algorithm piece that you mentioned? Just how does that come to you?
I just do this all day, every day, and I mean, such is the life of an artist. It can get a little overwhelming at times, but generally speaking, we just all day, every day. How are we going to make a sound no one's ever heard before?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Andrew is a master of 3D CAD software, and he can design just about anything you can think of. And we manufacture and produce these guitars on our own custom-built CNC machine.
So we create our own 3D printers. We create our own CNC machines to make these for us. We are all about making our own tools, and we make tools for artists.
We make tools that we would want to use, tools that inspire us, new guitar shapes that are inspiring for us to play with. And the whole idea is that if something inspires you, well, we could custom make that. Like we can make this guitar body with that type of wood, with this type of neck, with this type of experimental hardware. Anything you want, we can do it.
Gotcha. Yep. So do you guys feel like custom orders? Is that how that goes?
We fulfill custom orders. Each of these are a one-off. So we would call them...
never made the same instrument twice. Everything is a new one.
So does your clientele come to you like, hey, I want to do, did they just throw like really wacky ideas at you and you just kind of see or?
Yep. And so this instrument I made for myself. I got really burned out and kind of gave up on a lot of art and life, and then I made this one for myself, and then this guy shows up and inspires me to bring the whole thing back together. So
yeah, it was actually this guitar that inspired me to join Praxis Guitars. Yeah, if you want to hold that up for the camera.
Oh yeah, here, I'll take that for you.
Yes. So, first of all, it was the ergonomic fretboard that was very interesting. The shape of guitar was like nothing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
The quality of the woodwork, like I thought that this black maple with the curly, this black walnut, with the curly maple inlays was absolutely stunning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like one thing I noticed about a lot of guitar makers is like they try to hide the wood. See, this is not only bringing you a shape you've never seen, but it's like really beautiful wood forward. Like, yeah, like you get a sense of where this thing came from, and it just feels really rootsy and warm, and you just feel good looking at it and touching it, and it feels good and it sounds amazing.
I'm a big fan of ergonomics. I had to quit playing the bass at one point because I got really bad tendonitis.
Oh yeah.
And so when that happened, I just went into the rabbit hole for ergonomics. And it turns out I was just not like, you know, I had really good, strong, grippy power, but my extensors were not balanced. And I figured out how to not have to deal with ergonomics, but I still am glad that I went down that rabbit hole. Because it turns out you just balance out your hands and it's not that big an issue, but when I was so worried that I could never play an instrument again, I opened every door that said, hey, is this more ergonomic? And kind of ended up with that instrument there.
Gotcha. One of my favorite things looking at all sorts of designs for guitar-related products is in thinking of ergonomics as well. I assume then there's probably an accessibility piece that you guys also gear towards as well.
Yeah, so we add a tripod attachment to every one of our instruments so that you can just have it stand up.
Oh, yeah, I see that here, yeah.
Because for whatever reason, early big group of people that our customer base was based on was people who had back problems and couldn't carry a 15-pound guitar. And for whatever reason, most of our instruments are around 5 or 6 pounds, which is
I noticed it's pretty light.
And
they're all incredibly light, especially this one behind us, the hollow body.
You can also just attach them to a tripod and have it sit there and not have any strain on your shoulder at all.
Yeah, and that really opens it up for all kinds of people. You know, like you could be on crutches, you could be in a wheelchair and still play this guitar.
That's incredible. Also, because what I found annoying is like all those like. I forget what they call them, but you know the stands you can like seat the acoustics on. They're like deathly expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
That alone is just that. That's a great feature. I give great. It's such a small thing, but that's a huge difference.
And
I
it's
applaud
so
that
easy
greatly.
to add that it was like, okay, so maybe a couple of the people that we sell to are going to use this, but we should include it on every single instrument because the amount of effort that it takes to put it in there is almost nothing. And for someone, it's going to make the difference between I can play the guitar today and I'm not going to. And so, rock and roll.
See, that's just beautiful. Again, that's such a simple thing, but that's so beautiful to me. So I applaud you guys greatly for that. And I might have to, if I don't hit you up after this, I might have to research how to do that on my own.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. It's just a 1/4-20 threading, which is the standard for most tripods. And it's really convenient because I have an electronic drum set, and then I would put this on a pivot and then lay down a track and then just swing it over and be your own bass drum player.
One-man band type stuff, right? Have it readily available. Jump from one instrument to the other, have them all set up on stage. Already, all you have to do is get yourself behind it, do your thing, move on to the next instrument.
Gotcha. Well, gentlemen, this is thanks for getting your hands full for me here. So we'll do a little handshake.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, this has just been stellar to see. But again, Praxis Guitars, Stephen and Andrew, go check those guys out.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, another vendor who actually reached out to me as I was doing another interview earlier. I wanted to chit-chat a little bit about what he's got going on here. I have with me
Lewis Hayes.
And who are you representing here today?
Hayes Guitars.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Own company?
Yes.
Gotcha. Where are you based out of?
Paonia, Colorado. And I started building in '93, so I've been doing this over 30 years.
Gotcha. Looks like you've got a lot of acoustic designs going on. Is that what you really specialize in?
Yes.
Gotcha. How would you describe your design philosophy and the influences for that?
Well, I got into this because I wanted a Martin guitar and decided I couldn't afford one.
Fair
So that would be my major influence. I build on a 25, predominantly on a 25.4 scale length, which is like the Martin dreadnought size.
Yeah.
But I don't really build dreadnoughts.
Yeah. Do you kind of go? It looks like you're kind of going after kind of something that's a little smaller. Looks like.
These ones are. This one an homage to the Gibson 185, but small jumbos were predominantly what I had built most of my career. And small jumbo is the body shape with this tight waist and big bell-like lower bow.
Gotcha. This one right in the center here, striking mine. Do you mind if we bring this up a little bit?
No, that'd be great. That's a double lot?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll let you do
that's
that.
okay.
I don't want to be rude.
Just to talk about?
Yeah.
Cocobolo back and sides, which is a rosewood. And it's also pointed with cocobolo, bridge, rosette ring, fretboard, and headstock. I had the right wood, so I just wanted to do it. It's got a nice big deep.
Oh yeah.
For a small parlor-sized guitar, it's got a really deep voice. Just something fun for me to build, and one of my favorites.
Gotcha. So these are all like custom builds that you're doing?
Yes.
Essentially?
Yes. These two guitars are not, they were just fun builds for me. This is built based on a Martin OM size, and this was built on a Gibson J185, just one-offs for me having fun. This is a standard guitar for me, the double lot, and the baritone is a standard build. I'm a huge baritone enthusiast, so do you mind if we bring this one up on camera too? Yeah, sure. Yeah. 27.5-inch scale, tuned B to B.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't see a lot of acoustic baritones, so that's, I mean, I love baritones enough as is, but acoustics, it's like, woo, that's, yeah. What's the lowest gauge string you got on there? Was that up a pack?
I think it's 70.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 70 through 17, I believe, is
got a good
standard.
Good gap, or kind of a good gap between bass and acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something I've also seen. Have you potentially ever thought of? Or if you've ever thought of exploring, do you explore extended range designs? Because I'm thinking baritone, which is kind of extended range of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But like, have you ever considered like 7, 8 strings or anything of that nature?
I haven't. The scale length is, really determines. It's the major,
of course,
determination of the sound of the guitar. So
that's still very beautiful, and acoustic baritones, again, don't get to see those very too often. But Lou, thank you so much for pulling me aside. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming by and talking with me.
And so concludes my coverage of the 2025 Colorado Guitar Show and Custom Luthier Expo. I had a lot of fun creating this video just like last year, and it was absolutely awesome to see the work of many fantastic vendors here in the state of Colorado with whatever they were selling or some of the innovations that they were making towards guitar designs. Fantastic stuff to see. I want to give some additional thanks in particular to Mr. Dwayne Everts and his family/staff who have been organizing this particular guitar show here in Colorado year in and year out, and who I actually had the pleasure of meeting for the first time. Unfortunately, I don't know the history of the guitar show well enough, and I should have asked how long this has been going on here in our state. Dwayne, I know you'll see this video. Please feel free to correct me where you see this. Of course, and again, I want to give a huge thanks to all the vendors who agreed to appear on video for interviewing for this particular project. Like I mentioned plenty of times already, some of them had contacted me in advance of the show agreeing to appear on video, which is fantastic. Others, I was able to cold approach, and at least I had last year's video to show them, so they wanted to interview based on that then. Additionally, if you are further interested in any of the work that the vendors that I presented in this video do here today in terms of guitar making and the like, I will include links to their websites and their in social media down in the description of this video, along with their names and where they're located here in the state of Colorado. And if you've made it this far in the video, you probably already noticed, but if you want to circle back on any of the works that, again, the vendors here presented in this video, there are timestamps for each of them, and you can jump back on those as you see fit. And lastly, thank you, the viewers, for making this possible, especially those who are contributing to my Ko-fi page. There were some new things that I got to try out for this video that were a direct result of that patronage, and I am very grateful once again for that. Speaking of the vendors that I did talk to in this video, there is an additional point I'd like to make about two specific vendors. Number one, Jeff Baker of Hayley Guitars, who again I spoke to at the very front of this video. He does his own YouTube work as well over on Home Build Shop, or at Home Build Shop here on YouTube. And at the time I published my video on this year's show, he has already uploaded his little behind the scenes look. If you'd like to see what goes into putting on the Guitar Expo in general from the vendor standpoint, that's a very cool video. And I had a lot of fun seeing the work that Jeff put in to just be able to set up a booth at the show. show. Number 2, I have to give some extremely high praise to Andrew and Steven of Praxis Guitars. In the midst of the very out-of-the-world features that they presented on their guitars at their booth, the addition of having the feature on the back of their guitars that allows you to screw the guitar onto like a camera tripod, that's just absolutely amazing. I don't get to talk too much about accessibility things here on this channel, but it's a subject that I am very passionate about, and that from them was all sorts of fantastic and amazing to see. I know I showed a picture earlier in this video during their interview segment, but I spent a good 5 to 7 minutes or so after I talked to Andrew and Steven, just having one of their guitars mounted to my camera tripod. I just took it off the tripod as it is here, and just getting a feel for the guitar as it was sitting on that tripod. Mind you, there are such things as like stands that you can buy, particularly for like acoustic guitars, where you can seat the guitar on the stand and kind of just have it mounted there where you can like walk up to it or pull it on stage easy. But if you're looking at these kind of guitar-centric performer stands that really run in the neighborhood of like $350, $200 on the low side if you're lucky, I'm sorry, I know this is a product to sell, but at that price point, that's not accessible. And a stand like this is something I have had some interest in, not really a dedicated use for quite yet per se, but the Praxis guitar solution of just making a threaded screw hole that you can again put on a camera tripod, that's so much more cost effective. I should have asked, I didn't, and I don't know if that's maybe a dedicated service that Praxis Guitars would look into for guitars of any size and make, model, build, whatever. But just doing some simple woodwork over buying a $300 dedicated stand that you may not get to use consistently, stellar feature. I love that. Thank you, Praxis Guitars, for creating something like that. There's a couple other production pieces I want to note for this video that I feel I kind of maybe need to apologize for in a way. Number 1, this video took a while to make. It proved to be a lot more challenging than I recall from editing last year's video, and that was largely because as I was doing my vendor interviews, quite often there were a number of people who did walk in front of my camera on a consistent basis, so we had to sometimes stop and repeat what we had said. I think the vendors were being really super cool about that, and I tried to eliminate that as much as possible in the main video itself. But c'est la vie, that's what I get for going out to film in public. And for that, I cannot complain about that, but I will mention there were also some other funny production things that happened as I was trying to like set up interviews and the like. If you are interested in a blooper reel, I think I have enough for that, and if that sounds like fun to you, certainly drop that in the comments down below. If anyone's interested in providing some feedback on this next point in particular, one of the big changes that I had from last year's video to this video was that I didn't have my big clunky handheld microphone rig that you'll see in last year's video if you've watched that. Instead, I was using my wireless lapel mics, as you've seen me use in many videos nowadays. And I noticed during editing, some of the conversations that I was having with vendors kind of came off really hot in terms of the microphones picking it up and kind of clipping as a result. I tried some tricks in post-production to try and mitigate this as best as I could. But if you have any further thoughts on that, if you're skilled in that, or at least know more about wireless lapel microphones, I would love to know more from you. And lastly, as you saw in the first part of the video where I was demoing a guitar from Jeff Baker of Hayley Guitars, I think I had the amp a little too hot. I didn't realize it, but my apologies on that again. Oopsies. Now, keeping in tradition with last year's video, did I come home with any sort of new notable acquisitions? Why, oh yes indeed. Something to keep in mind with some of the more unique instruments that I have here in my home studio is that they are largely driven by a certain family member of mine who I love very much, their love of Celtic folk music. Now, in the midst of a few vintage mandolins here, a tenor banjo there, and also a specific guitar that I saw at the show that's given my choice of uploading this video a day after a particular date with a very funny number and connotation associated with it.
Smoke weed every day.
I came home with this cute little thing. And this differs greatly to the absolute monstrosity instrument of the guzheng that I am still struggling to get kind of a grasp on the learning material even 1 year later, in all honesty. Don't worry, that video will come eventually. Rather, the instrument that I picked up this year is actually very intuitive, very easy to play, even for raw beginners, and it's just a lot of fun. This is what you could call a Merlin dulcimer, which is made by a Canadian instrument company called Seagull, which I believe is a subsidiary of Godin, if I'm correct. And what it's intended to be is a cross between just your standard guitar and also the mountain dulcimer, which is an instrument you play normally like on your lap. And it's even got the same string configuration of a mountain dulcimer where you have 4 strings where you have kind of a bassy string or a low string, middle string, and then 2 chorused high strings. And most commonly, the mountain dulcimer and this instrument by extension are tuned to the open D, or technically D5 chord. One thing you'll definitely notice about this instrument right off the bat, and I'll try to show here up more in close-up form, is that yes, it's a fretted instrument, but the frets are kind of spaced out in a very kind of uneven, so to speak, way. And the super technical music term for this is that it is a diatonically tuned instrument. And with the Merlin dulcimer's tuning of DAD, just like the lap mountain dulcimer, you're playing diatonic in the key of D major, which in layman's terms is going to mean you can't play anything wrong with how the frets are set up, because you're just going to be playing everything in D major regardless. I may not be properly explaining that correctly. Go look up the definition of diatonic from, an actual musicologist so you can get the best definition of that. But I will demonstrate how this works with a simple nursery rhyme played in kind of 3 different styles. And for this being such a surprisingly simple instrument, there's actually a great deal of material that's out there for it. I found this particular book out of a series of 4 over on Amazon. I got it for just about under $10, and it's a compilation of about 40 different Irish and Celtic songs. And of course I got this because I know my mother was going to love that. But there's even more great material from outside of this series of books that this one came from. Out there on the internet, other books and the like from other publishers and authors and the like who are making fun material for this instrument. And it's just so simple, but it's so fun to play. Again, you could be a seasoned musician or a totally new player just to music in general, but if you enjoy hearing the key of D major, this is a fantastic instrument for that. But I want to give a huge thanks to the folks over at Highlands Ranch Guitar Repair. They were the ones that were selling this at their booth for about $100, and I snagged it. I can tell you already, this instrument is gonna make for some fantastic YouTube shorts and TikTok videos. And that'll do it for this video, everyone. I, again, sincerely hope you enjoyed. I think safe to say that this will be at least one guaranteed long video out of me every year from henceforth, because obviously it's very beautiful to see what these vendors and builders here in my state of Colorado are coming up with, not just for their beautiful designs, but also what they're doing to kind of push the envelope in terms of guitar materials and other technology. And that's just something you may not get sooner out of a lot of big production brands. I'm definitely looking forward to reading the comments on this video, and if you do live in the state of Colorado, I would absolutely recommend, if you do have the capacity to go any year that you can, definitely check out the annual Colorado Guitar Show and Luthier Expo. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you in the next video.